When you conducted the interview, so was it in Chinese or in English? Because Dr. Li Zhisui studied abroad for several years, right?
Right. So we did it both in Chinese and in English. Often we would start off in the morning in English, and then as he got tired of using English, he would switch into Chinese. So we went back and forth between Chinese and English. And his English, I think he understood English fine. There was no problem. He did speak English. His spoken English was not as good as his listening English.
Right. Did he approve the notes? Did you share the notes with him?
I never shared the notes with him, but he certainly saw the manuscript. He saw the results of the conversations we'd had. So he didn't see the notes, but he saw what I wrote after.
I see. Because the reason
he saw that, yeah.
He saw that.
So
the
he
reason
had to read every word in it.
And the reason I'm asking this is, I think the Chinese translator once claimed that the editor of the Random House tried to sensationalize the book by adding information of which Dr. Li Zhisui did not approve, and saying, like, for example, the Random House editor paid more attention to Mao's various sexual relationships or the sexual proclivities, and then which Dr. Li Zhisui did not like, or he did not intend his book to be that sensationalized.
So, I mean, I think there is some truth to that, but I think that the editor would not want to use the word sensationalize. But yes, I think that he wanted those stories told. I will say that at the end of when the book was fully written and sort of fully approved at least by Jason Epstein, any book has to go through a sort of legal vetting.
Okay.
And in a legal vetting, there was some concern about revealing names of women with whom Mao may have been involved. And so we did go through the manuscript and remove a lot of names and to avoid
any potential legal troubles.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Another one of the claims that Dr. Li Zhisui said before he passed away, he said that the actual book actually only contained part of what he provided you, and then there were a large part that you deleted without his knowledge. Is that true?
So first of all, I never did anything without his knowledge. He approved every word in that book.
Okay.
I am sure that there's a lot of information that isn't in there because you're telling a story from beginning to end, and there was a lot of material perhaps that was extraneous that wasn't part of the story. So you can't say everything in a book. So probably if I were to go back and look at my notes, I would find things that aren't in the book. But that doesn't necessarily mean it was deliberately taken out. It was just, you have a story to tell, and you can't tell everything. So he did have the idea, I think, of writing a second book. But the reality, in my experience, is when you write a book like this and you think, well, I've left some things out, I'll write a second book, it doesn't work. I mean, it's the first book, and that's got the really gist of the story and the most important part of the story in there. But you can't tell everything.
So you're saying that the stuff you have deleted is not something central or important to the book.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even say I've deleted anything.
You've just left out.
There's no deliberate deleting, I think.
Oh,
it's just, here's the story.
Did not use certain
you don't use all of the
material.
Sure, and that anybody who does research has to know that you don't use all the material.
Right.
In fact, I discovered with PhD students, one of their problems is they want to put everything in. But not everything needs to be in. If you want to tell a story and make a point, you don't need everything.
I guess his claims imply that he probably has a lot more important stuff he wants to tell, but during the editorial process, sometimes it's not selected or anything.
So that I think I would probably disagree with. I think that the important part is all in there, really. But I think lots of people like Li Zhisui writing their story feel that way. It's not an unusual phenomenon to think that I didn't tell everything I still need to say more. I have a second book. But the point is, and I think that the author and the publisher have different different goals. The publisher wants a book that a large public is going to read.
Exactly.
And the author wants to tell everything. And those two goals are not always complementary.
So when you first approached Dr. Li Zhisui, did it ever occur to you that the material he gave you is not authentic or anything like that?
So after I spoke with Jason Epstein, and he's saying, I hope you will do this book. I said, well, first of all, I have to see the manuscript. Within 45 minutes, I had the manuscript. I read it, and then I said, well, I have to meet this man. I have to know that he's credible. Now, I also knew at the time that Jason Epstein had done his own background research. He had talked, for instance, to Winston Lord, who was the American ambassador to China, and who verified that this man was who he said he was. And also, there's nothing private about the fact that he was Mao's private doctor. It's in the announcements of Mao's death.
Right.
But I felt I had to meet him to make sure that I knew that he was who he said he was, and also that I'd be able to understand his Chinese. I really wanted to know that I would be able to communicate with him. And there was never a shred of doubt. And the reason there was not a shred of doubt is he was still living his life in what they call Group 1. I mean, he was still fighting the battles of remember the staff around Mao, where he was sort of playing staff members against each other. And so there was a lot of sort of tension around within the group of people who worked most closely with him. And he was still fighting those battles. He still hadn't gotten over it. So there was no doubt in my mind ever. And of course he had scads of pictures.
He had lots of pictures.
Sure, yeah. He had lots of pictures. His two sons both lived in Carroll Stream too, and they remembered they shared their experiences of growing up inside Zhengnan High. So yeah, there was never any doubt. And I still don't, that's something I've never doubted. I don't think even for a second.
So, what was it like to work with him?
He knew that he had a story to tell, and he actually knew pretty much how to tell it. I think the other thing that was probably important to me is that at some point he lost faith in Mao. I think if I were trying to tell the story of somebody who had always loved and respected Chairman Mao, that I would have found it a bit more difficult. But his process of describing how he became disillusioned with Mao, I think, while he was very close to Mao, I think it also reflects a process of disillusionment that many other Chinese went through too. So that was a very credible part of it.